try maggots again in a minute, just to see if there's any life down there. The bite stopped on luncheon meat, and I'm not getting anything on bread either. Oh, there we go. And that feels a little bit better. Got it on the lift. Yeah, it's another skimmer, isn't it? He's just hooked in the lip. I'll maybe have to get him out down there and then save using the net. Oh, if I can get out of the chair. Here we go. Oh well, he's back. Found his own way back. Hi again. I wasn't going to come out this week because I've got things on most days of the week, but it's Monday today and it was a free day. And the weather is so glorious, I just couldn't resist it. It's not really the best for fishing again. It's high pressure area, bright sunshine all day. But I thought, you know, I'll only sit indoors thinking I should have gone fishing, so I've come fishing. I've come down to a little lake that I like in Earith. Not quite gone to plan because I like tucking myself away in the back corner, but unfortunately the water level's up and the path that leads to that corner is underwater, and I didn't bring welly boots, so I couldn't get there. So I'm on the main bit of the lake, if you like. The forecast is for very little wind, but I've noticed there is a bit of a drift on the surface, so I'm on a light waggler and that may prove to be a bit troublesome, so I might have to go to a float ledge or something just to stabilise things. I'm tackled up, and I've still got to mix my ground bait. I'm going to put a little bit of ground bait in. I bought a mix of baits today. I've got some maggots left over from the last trip. I've got some hemp which I'm going to mix in with the ground bait. I bought some corn which I may give a try, and I bought a bit of bread as well. So fair mix of baits. This is a really lovely little lake. It's got some good tench in it and quite a lot of bream, which often oblige, which is nice. I know bream aren't everybody's favourite, but they can give good sport sometime. But the surprising thing is that it's empty. There's no one on this lake at all. It's completely empty, which surprised me, I must admit. And the other thing is that although it's bright sunshine all day, the forecast temperature is 12 degrees, so it's far from warm. So I don't know how it's going to fish, but it don't really matter because just sitting in these lovely spring conditions is absolutely beautiful. Got a couple of ducks in front of me that are going to amuse me if nothing else happens. So I'll set to making up some ground bait, put a bit of ground bait in, and then we'll start fishing and see what comes of it. It may not be much, but as I say, it's just such a beautiful day. I couldn't sit at home and think, I should have been out there, so I'm out there. Anyway, let's give it a go, shall we? Right, all ready to go. As I say, I think this breeze is going to be a problem. I'd sort of banked on getting around the back corner of the lake where it's sheltered. But it's not sheltered here, so I'll give it a go. But I think this light waggler's not going to behave itself. The first glitch in the plan, or the second glitch in the plan, first was not being able to get where I wanted to get to. The second one is that all my maggots that I'd left in the corner of the garage because it was nice and cool, well, it wasn't cool enough because they're all casters now, or chrysalis. So I mixed some in with the ground bait, but all the casters are floating, so those two ducks out there are clearing them up for me. So I've opened up the corn. I'll start with corn. As I say, that ripple on the surface there, I think this is going to be a problem, but I'll see how it goes. try holding the rod top underwater with the line underwater. That may help. I'm using my Hardy Avon specimen, I think they call it. Yeah, it's drifting around, isn't it? The reason I'm using this rod, it's a fairly beefy rod, but I've lost a few carp in here. I've landed a couple, but I've lost a few as well. Yeah, that's just going to drift around all the time, isn't it? If you can hear children, it's a family's just arrived to the left of me. This is very much a sort of family lake. As you can see opposite, it's a caravan and camping site as well. And in the height of summer, it's there's a lot of people here. I usually come in the spring. That seems to be hanging on out there. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. It's just a pity I couldn't get where I wanted to get to. The fact that float is well out of the water means the shot's on the bottom. I've got a single shot, just a couple of inches from the hook. And that shot is sufficient to cock that float such that only the red tip is showing. So the fact all that is showing means the shot's on the bottom, which isn't a bad thing with this drift. Yeah, it's a pity the maggots have turned. I think maggots may have been a good bait today. Can try putting a few casters on to see what happens. I didn't think they'd turn so quickly actually. But obviously we've had some quite warm weather and a lot of the garage is concrete floor. Probably the sun on the door has warmed the air temperature in there. That seems to have settled there, so we'll leave it, see what happens. I'll come back to you if anything happens. The float just lifted a bit, so something was interested in the sweet corn, but nothing really that positive. But at least it was something. Up until then, in the last quarter of an hour or so, nothing's happened at all. I've got quite a big shot near the hook, which is helping stabilise the float in this drift, but it may put off smaller fish taking the bait. But there was definitely a fish movement on that float. I switched on the video thinking it might materialise into something more positive, but it doesn't seem to have done so. There's a lot of fish in this lake, lots of rudd, say a fair head of tench, a really good head of bream. I think I've caught bream every time I've been here, but I've never fished it this early in the year, I must admit. So a bit like last week at Field's End, it may be that things haven't warmed up enough yet. look for a more sheltered spot, I suppose. Let's see how things go. I suppose I could try some casters. But they really have turned. There may be a few. There's a few maggots in amongst the mix, but not many. I could try what's there, I suppose. Be a bit of a pity if they're feeding on maggots and I've got none left. Give it a try, shall we? That's where I'll put the ground bait. It's lovely when the wind goes away. Yeah, the shot's now off the bottom. And the bait may be off the bottom, and that's the only problem. Perhaps I overdid it a bit. Yeah, there we go. Got a lift on that one. Yeah, I wasn't seeing them before because that shot was on the bottom. Yeah, that's a roach, isn't it? I was going to say, is it a rudd, but it's a roach. There we go. Well, we've got a fish anyway. Let's put him back in. Right, we've broken our duck. We're not going home fishless. Yeah, that was a classic lift with that shot just off the bottom. As soon as he took the bait. Oh dear, I'm not casting very well, am I? There we go. Yeah, just small fish, aren't they? And that big shot is probably discouraging them. So I think I'll go back on corn, or perhaps try a bit of bread or luncheon meat. Yeah. Amazing I hooked that, to be honest. Oops, he didn't quite make it. I'll go down and kick him in. Hold on. I've had about a 30-minute break. Wasn't an intentional break, but a guy had come down with his wife and children, and they were sort of over the back of me. But I wasn't really paying attention, but he'd come down, he'd obviously bought a complete set of carp gear, and still all in the packaging and God knows what else. And he came over and asked me to help him set it up. Well, talk about the blind leading the blind. I mean to say, I just don't do modern carp fishing, so most of the stuff in the little boxes was a mystery to me. Anyway, we managed to get him going. I'm sure any dedicated carp angler would have horrors the way I've set it up, but there we go. I did what I could. Meanwhile, back here, I'm still on a bit of red flake, and the float just lifted and I missed it. So red flake seems to entice them. Fortunately, the wind's dropped down, which is fantastic. But these are, I think, small roach. But fingers crossed, when the sun's on the water for quite a while, it may inspire the tench to come and have a nose around. You never know. But it's a pleasant enough place to sit. Well, I just got a nice lift bite on the chrysalis, or the casters, and it's a small bream. So there's bream down there, very slippery ones. Oh well, it's a start. The fact there were bream down there, that is promising. And the fact they took chrysalis is even more promising, because my maggots are all turned, so... There are now 3 of us on the lake. There's the carp guy I mentioned earlier, or the carp guy who was learning to be a carp guy, I suppose. You could say. Apparently he usually goes with his brother who sorts everything out, but he was a bit at a loss today, as I was as well, with all the gear he had. All these little bits and pieces that go on the line. Beads and shock beads and God knows what else. Swivels and... Anyway. But there's another guy who's turned up since, and he's fishing the float, and also he's got a feeder rod out. So we'll see how he does. Well, I must admit, last week at Field's End I got absolutely freezing in that breeze, and it's still a northerly breeze today, but, or northeasterly I think today. But sitting in the sun is quite pleasant. I'm not at the stage of taking anything off yet, but it is quite pleasant. Another duck's arrived. Or is it the same one just come back? It's the only trouble with putting ground bait in, they think it's food, and well, it is food I suppose. I'll get fed up soon. Go and look for something else. All these splashes and that are the birds, you keep thinking they're fish, but there was a big splash to my left over there, the other side of this reed bed a little while ago, which I guess was a carp. Oh, there's a bite I think on luncheon meat, or is it? So difficult to know. Be nice to just get a positive bite for a change. Certainly not a carp, they just usually go off like an express train. It could be a crucian, or the guy who collected the money, he said they've been catching crucians and tench. So fingers crossed. I was going to fish a bit further down to my left where there's a big lily bed. Perhaps I should have gone there. But it meant a longer cast, and when you've got a breeze like this, I decided to fish somewhere where I could fish a bit closer. Easier to control the float. That was interesting. That solitary short reed stem that's about a foot to the left of my float just knocked. It was definitely looked like a fish knock rather than the wind. So dare we hope that something's moving around down there. Oh, but did you see that float lift? That was on lunching me. Oh, Jesus. How did we miss that one? Anyway, I did say that I'd seen that reed knock. Right, we've got another bit of luncheon meat out. Well, it's just come up to 1 o'clock. I started fishing probably about 10. So we've been here 3 hours. A few small roach and a skimmer bream. But there is the potential for something much better. If only I could hook some of these bites on luncheon meat. But they're certainly not positive. Mind you, we're in the middle of the day, bright sunshine, high pressure. It's probably not the best, is it, really? I haven't noticed the guy to the right who's also float fishing. I haven't noticed him catch anything, although I haven't been paying close attention. Yeah, that float just lifted a bit again, and a little bit more, but it's really difficult to know when to strike. They're just little tiny lifts, as if something's nosing at the bait. A very good cast, wasn't it? Right, so the bait has sunk. It seems like it may still, the shot may still be off the bottom because the float has gone right down. The ducks are back every time I cast. Excuse me. I may have to take my jumper off soon, I'm getting too warm. Last week at Field's End I froze, but I'm definitely getting a bit too warm. As you can see, this duck down here is almost at my feet. Oh, I've just scared it now, putting the camera down there. Just had a bit of movement on the float, so I'll switch the camera on. It'll probably come to nothing. I just chatted to the guy who's fishing a little bit up from me. He hasn't had much, just a few knocks, so we seem to be in the same position basically. He said, like me, he hasn't fished it this early in the year before. We're both sort of tempted by the weather, I think. Right, I'm going to go back on bread because luncheon meat has been an utter frustration. I've had lots of bites, well, I think were bites, but I don't think I've put one fish on luncheon meat, so despite having what I thought were positive lifts on the float. So I'm going to go back onto bread. See what happens with that, shall we? No, that's the wrong side of that reed. That's better. Ducks come back as soon as they hear a splash. That the reed just knocked again. It is so frustrating, this. There is something moving around down there that's knocking that reed. Oh, there was fish down there. I may try maggots again in a minute just to see if there's any life down there, because the bite stopped on luncheon meat. Now I'm not getting anything on bread either. Oh, there we go. And that feels a little bit better. Got it on the lift. Yeah, it's another skimmer, isn't it? He's just hooked in the lip. I may be able to get him out down there and it's safe using the net. If I can get out of the chair. Here we go. Oh well, he's back. Found his own way back. Felt quite a good fish that really, it was only a small bream. There we go. So that was probably what was messing about with the luncheon meat, but they were a bit more positive on that small bit of bread. So let's stick with bread. Right, just as I turned the GoPro off, the float lifted on sweet corn, and I think we got another skinner. Yeah. So that's our third bream today. Again, he's hooked just in the lip, so we don't need to really get him much out of the water. Oh, he's a bit heavier, this one. There we go. Yeah, he's probably the best of the bunch today. Whoa, whoa. Nope, he's gone. They're so slippery, you just can't hold them things. Oh, look at all the slime. Oh well, we're catching. It's gone very, very quiet. I've just put a bit of luncheon meat out. I thought, as if I'm going to sit and watch a stationary float that's not doing anything, I might as well put luncheon meat on, because if something comes along that's a little bit better, it may well take the luncheon meat. In fact, the cast previous to this, I put 2 bits of corn on, and when I retrieved, there was no corn on the hook, so either it had fallen off or something had managed to get it off without me seeing any indication. But the breeze had come up quite a bit, so it's quite possible I didn't notice the float moving. That piece of luncheon meat has been out there a good 20 minutes. And there's not been any interest at all. I was using sweet corn before that. It seems to have gone exceedingly quiet. I keep thinking the float's sort of knocking, but it's not enough to get too excited about, to be honest. It's happened so many times and nothing seems to develop from it. I'm still missing these bites on bread. It's just ridiculous, really. It's just gone 3. I was going to pack up at 3, and I probably will make this my last cast. I just can't hook them. I don't know what they are. I can't believe they're anything significant. They're obviously lifting up the bread. There you go, straight away. They're lifting up the bread but not taking it completely. And they're doing that repeatedly. But it never seems to develop into a bite that I can hit. And I've tried striking on the 2nd and 3rd lift, but it don't seem to make a lot of difference, really. There's never anything there. So I don't know if they're just small rod pulling at the bread. But yeah. I mean, say the float lifts, they're lifting that shot up because the float lifts significantly on occasions. But I don't think I'm going to get anything anything big today. been a lovely day. Yeah, I was hoping may pick up a tench or a crucian carp. See, look at that, it lifts and then drops again. If I strike on that lift, I never get anything. And now it's lifting a bit more. Lifting again. Lifting a bit more, and again. It never develops into anything significant. I'm just letting it do its thing at the moment. But if I strike on those lifts, there's never anything there. Which is weird, because they must have the bait in their mouth to lift the shot. Okay, again and again. See? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Float was really out the water. Right, I'll have one more try and then I'm going to pack up and call it a day. Because it is very frustrating. Really, very frustrating. I can't believe, I mean, so if it was a tench or a crucian, if it was a tench, I'm sure I would have been able to hook it. I've caught tench on lift method here before, not been that difficult. Alright, that bit of bread's a bit smaller. See if that makes any difference. Lift, see? But it just doesn't go away. And it don't matter, I was striking on the first lift and I was striking on the second. See, it's well up that float. The shot must be off the bottom, but it just doesn't seem to be any way of hooking the damn things. My third last cast then, and then that's it, definitely. Looks like they're not going to give me a last chance. Maybe the bread came off, it's possible. No, it's lifting slightly. Oh, that time we hooked it. And it's fighting quite hard, actually. I think it's only a bream, but yeah, it's certainly given me a go, and a very small one, actually. Amazing. Well, we know what they are now, so we'll call it a day, I think. The coat keeps getting caught in this chair. Look. Yeah, not very big, is he? That's probably why the difficulty of hooking them. Just in the top lip. I can't get the bloody hook out. Oh, this is stupid. No, hold on, don't wriggle. I can't get it out if you wriggle. There we go. Right. God, slime. I'll call it a day. Now we know what they are, we finally hooked one. Alright, folks. So that's it. Never managed to tempt a tench or a carp or a crucian, but yeah, I think fishing these smaller lakes so early in the year perhaps is a bit more challenging than I expected. I've never fished this lake quite as early as this in the year, so I didn't know what to expect. The guy who's fishing down from me, who's fishing much the same as I am on a float, he has got a feeder rod out as well, but he's on a float. He hasn't done very good either. So yeah, a few small roach to start with, and then I think I ended up with 4 skimmer bream. Incredibly difficult to hit. They were giving me very positive lift bites, but I just wasn't hitting them. So anyway, it's time to go home. I could stay longer. I've seen a couple of carp cruising on the surface, but I saw carp cruising on the surface at Field's End last week, and that didn't do me any good either. Yeah, it was a lovely day though, lovely to be out. I'm glad I'm out here and I didn't sit at home sort of regretting that I didn't go. Yeah, it wasn't quite what I'd hoped. As I say, I hoped that there's quite a few small tench in here. It's not that I was after massive tench. There's really quite a good head of tench in here, so I was hoping I may at least get a tench, but I didn't. So there we go, that's it. So as always, thanks for watching. Not sure I'll go out next week. I may let things settle down and warm up a bit more before I try another lake. Finding them quite challenging at the moment, so maybe not next week. See how we go. Yeah, so as I said, thanks for watching, and thanks to the subscribers. Thank you, all of you who give me a like on the videos, and yeah, and thanks for the comments as well. I'm sort of stalling a bit here because my phone's showing someone's calling me just as I'm recording this video, but I don't want to start again, so that's why I lost attention for a minute there. Anyway, so that's it, and until the next time, it's bye for now and cheers.